Hello, my dear patrons, it's Brian here. First of all, I really like to say a big thank you and express my gratitude about all your support since there's a huge gap between my updates, but you're still here and support my works, which is great. So welcome to this more extended and comprehensive version of this Tiger tutorial. Hopefully it will be helpful. Enjoy.
So this is the meat production tiger we're gonna use in this tutorial. There is really not much to say about the construction assembling, as it is very straightforward, except for one thing, the Zimmerat. The kit do comes with solutions for this, but they are either too uniform or too mushy to be useful. But with some basic tools, we can vastly improve it. The Zimmerats are much more pleasing now, and we can start painting the model. I applied 2 coats of primers. The first one is the gray primer from Mr. Primer, and the second one is the red oxide from Citadel. In this way, I can have a really durable base color, which is very important for further hairspray chipping. The primer dries really fast. Now I'm applying the first coat of hairspray. Technically speaking, you can use any hairspray, but from my experience, a medium strength, matte, odorless hairspray works the best. And before we start painting the actual camouflage, this layer of white paint is really important. It will not only make the color reproduction of the camouflage much easier, and also you're gonna have much better chipping results in the long run. After finished painting the sand color, we may start the first layer of chipping. For this job, I use various different brushes and hard tools to reproduce different kinds of chipping. With patience, you can get some really fine and realistic chipping results once you get the hang of it. So based on my experience, there are a few tips I want to mention. So first one is about hairspray itself. You don't really want to use very glossy, very sticky ones because they tend to be very thick and it's really hard to control. Unless you want to create some really big corrosion or big patches of chipping, avoid using them. The second tip is about working time. The rule of thumb is like the longer you leave the model, the harder it will be for you to create chippings, but also the finer chippings you will get. And don't worry about leaving your model overnight, because I sometimes leave the model for a week and I still can create chippings with no problem. Even if you do find it very difficult to make scratch chippings, use some alcohol to aid your process. The third tip is about how to use your tools properly. And you have to know exactly what kind of chipping you want to create and the location of the chippings. Do you want some really fine scratch on the fenders, or is it a big corrosion patch on the engine deck? Then choose your tools respectively, and never use a big brush and rubbing your whole model and hoping some random chippings would occur. And the last but not least is to remember to soak up all the water on your model before we move on to the next chipping area. Otherwise, you may end up with really big patch of ugly watermarks. So just keep practicing, and if you have more questions regarding this topic, tell me in the comment. So after finishing the first layer of hairspray chipping, I do recommend to protect everything with a set and varnish before you move on to the next steps. We may start playing with extra camouflage. As you may notice that my choice of colors are pretty pale. That is because with these pale colors, I can easily render it with oil colors later on in the weathering steps. As soon as we finish painting the camouflage, we have to work on the second layer of chipping to reveal some of the previous chippings we have done.
So this is the end of this first tutorial, and I'm gonna show you more techniques and how I deal with the rendering and textures in the next episode. Stay tuned for that. It's Brian here. Thanks for your support.